Hello and welcome to this webinar hosted by GXS. My name is Mark Morley, Industry Marketing Director. Many companies today need to adhere to numerous regulatory and compliance laws that have been introduced by governments around the world. One of the latest laws introduced by the US government aims to minimize the use of conflict minerals across global supply chains. Due to the lack of visibility across today's supply chains, it can sometimes be difficult to keep track of where rare and expensive minerals such as gold are sourced from. Gold, for example, is used in everything from electrical switch contacts to heat-resistant foil linings on satellites. This webinar will introduce the Dodd-Frank law and explain why companies need to embrace this new law moving forwards. This webinar will also discuss how improved collaboration across today's supply chains can help companies adhere to this new regulation. Let me briefly outline an agenda for this session. I will begin this session by introducing the Dodd-Frank law before then going on to discuss which minerals will be impacted by this new regulation. I will then discuss some of the key industry initiatives being put in place to help minimize the amount of conflict minerals moving across today's global supply chains. I will then move on to discuss one particular assessment process that was introduced to help try and remove conflict minerals from the high-tech industry. Finally, I will finish this session by discussing how the increased adoption of community management tools can help with the execution and management of these assessment processes. Today's global supply chains face many challenges with ensuring trading partners adhere to various government-related compliance and risk management initiatives. Adhering to any form of regulatory or legal compliance can be a lengthy process for many businesses. Increased collaboration with trading partners can improve the rate of compliance to such initiatives through a mix of regular communications and data gathering surveys, with or without closed-loop tracking of the outreach efforts and their results. During a period of supply chain disruption, how can a company quickly reach out to their trading partner community to not only check on their operational status and continued ability to provide materials, but assess the broader condition of a supply chain across a geographical region? Improving corporate social responsibility is on the agenda of nearly every CEO around the world, and ensuring that trading partners comply with these CSR requirements can be a challenge. Many governments are clamping down on the use of conflict minerals across global supply chains. How can a company ensure that a supply chain is conflict mineral free? The new Dodd-Frank law was introduced by the US government to ensure that every company submitting a filing to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, in North America in 2014 has no conflict minerals across their supply chain. So what exactly is the Dodd-Frank law? In order to try and remove conflict minerals from global supply chains, the US Congress passed the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, which was signed into law on the 21st July 2010. Section 1502 of the Act is a provision related to sourcing. The intention of this provision is to deter, through increased transparency of company sourcing practices, the extreme violence and human rights violations in the Democratic Republic of Congo and neighboring countries funded by the exploitation and trade of certain materials. Section 1502 instructs the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, in consultation with the U.S. Department of State, to introduce regulations requiring certain companies to submit annually a description of measures taken to exercise due diligence on the source and chain of custody of conflict minerals. All companies submitting filings to the SEC must now complete forms to confirm that they are not using conflict minerals across their supply chain, and the first submission is on the 31st of May 2014. And then annually by 31st of May each year. Any company, and there are estimated to be around 6,000, that files forms 10K, 20F or 40F with the SEC each year will be affected by this new law. The manufacturing industry is the most affected by Dodd-Frank, with aerospace, automotive, high-tech, defense and medical devices sectors being particularly badly impacted. There are basically four types of minerals that have been classified as conflict-related. Tantalum, which is regarded as the first conflict mineral and became popular on the back of the growth across the mobile phone industry. Tin, widely regarded as the primary funding source of rebel groups and used in alloys, tin plating and solders for joining pipes and electronic circuits. Tungsten, which is widely used across electrical and electronic components. And finally gold, which due to its superior electric conductivity and corrosion resistance is used in electronic communications and aerospace equipment. Together, these four materials are collectively referred to as the 3TG minerals. Raw materials or minerals used in the manufacture of electronic components are typically sourced from many different locations around the world. One country that is rich in these minerals is the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. However, it is widely known that the trade of minerals in this particular country is helping to fund extreme levels of violence across the region. The conflict in this particular country has so far claimed more than 5.4 million lives since it began in the late 1990s. Raw materials and minerals mining is crucial to the DRC economy. However, some mines are controlled by militant groups causing serious social and environmental issues in the region. Such issues include serious human rights abuse, theft, extortion, forced child labour, deforestation and high taxation of mineral resources. All of these factors combined have had a negative effect on both the manufacturing industry and the image of the DRC. So what exactly is DRC conflict-free? This is defined as the products that do not contain minerals or their derivatives determined to be directly or indirectly financed or benefit armed groups from the countries highlighted in the map shown on this slide, which includes DRC and its immediate surrounding neighbour countries. Even though the percentage of 3TG minerals used in today's products is relatively small, these particular minerals are used across a broad group of products as can be seen on this slide. Everything from aerospace and automotive parts to batteries, jewelry, wiring looms, medical devices, fishing lures, electronic devices and even pesticides. So with 3TG minerals being used across many different industries, what are these individual industries doing to reduce the amount of conflict minerals that are moving across their respective supply chains? Here are just three examples of how industry bodies are working to remove 3TG minerals from their respective industries. Given that 3TG minerals are widely used across the high-tech industry, probably more so than any other industry sector, it should be no surprise to learn that more progress has been made to try and assess supply chains within this particular industry. The Electronics Industry Citizenship Coalition, or EICC, and the Global E-Sustainability Initiative, or GESI, launched a joint project called the Conflict-Free Smelter Program, a voluntary program aimed at tracing the supply chain minerals used in electronic goods. If the source for these 3TG minerals can be identified before they are smelted into a new material, then it will be far easier to close down the source of each individual mineral. In the automotive sector, the Automotive Industry Action Group, or AIAG in North America, has developed a web-based tool which replicates the functionality of the spreadsheet-based reporting tool created by the EICC. AIAG's web-based reporting tool and the EICC reporting template are the two most common methods for reporting conflict mineral usage across the supply chain. From a global perspective, AIAG is likely to work with their partner organizations, ODET in Europe and JAMA in Japan, to ensure that all automotive companies, irrespective of location in the world, has the ability to undertake a conflict minerals assessment of their supply chain. This is a great example of how three regional industry bodies could work together to achieve a common goal, in this case removing conflict minerals from the automotive supply chain. Another example from the jewelry industry is the World Gold Council, WGC. They have developed a conflict-free gold standard which will ensure that companies producing, transporting and refining gold meets the standards in order to claim their gold products are conflict-free. To try and understand some of the challenges with obtaining information from a supplier community. The consultancy firm PwC recently completed a survey of companies across the automotive industry. As you can see from this study, 31% of respondents said that the number one challenge that automotive companies will face is getting accurate and complete information from relevant suppliers across their respective supply chains. PwC estimates that up to 160,000 automotive companies will be impacted by Dodd-Frank, and this is where industry associations such as AIAG will play an important part in educating the industry on what exactly is required of them. So what steps can companies take to address the number one challenge of obtaining accurate and complete information from their supply chains? As discussed on an earlier slide, a number of organizations have started to define processes for clamping down on conflict minerals sourcing. In December 2010, the International Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, produced a document which provides due diligence guidance for sourcing minerals from conflict-affected and high-risk areas around the world. The purpose of this report is to help companies avoid fueling, facilitating, or exacerbating conflict through their sourcing practices, or contributing or being associated with serious human rights abuses. The OECD designed a 5-step framework for identifying and removing conflict minerals from a supply chain. The EICC and GESI Joint Working Group aims to help companies deploy the OECD framework to allow the sourcing of conflict-free minerals. This will be achieved by implementing conflict-free smelter and due diligence programs to verify conflict-free minerals across the supply chain from the OEM, supporting in-region sourcing schemes to enable future legitimate trade from DRC and surrounding countries, supporting OECD due diligence guidance and pilot, engaging with stakeholders for collaboration and efficiency, supporting individual company assurance processes through information sharing, standard tools and templates. For the high-tech industry, the OECD framework defines upstream and downstream as follows. As can be seen from this diagram, the supply chain down from the original equipment manufacturers or OEMs, for example the mobile phone and consumer electronics companies, is relatively short. The main area of focus for the OECD framework is upstream to the smelters, i.e. with the miners and traders, as this is where the 3TG minerals can potentially be sold on by rogue organizations in the DRC. If the control and monitoring of mineral supply can be improved before they enter the smelter, then there will be a higher chance of identifying and removing 3TG minerals from global supply chains. All of the major industry analysts have produced reports offering their own analysis of the sourcing of conflict minerals. Deloitte succinctly summarized the issues as follows. The complexity of today's supply chains combined with the lack of visibility into sourcing practices will be one of the key challenges of ensuring that Dodd-Frank can be adhered to. In addition, at this end of the supply chain, there is relatively little process automation with extensive paper-based processes that, if necessary, can be easily forged or modified. Adoption of electronic processes such as EDI will help to secure the supply chain, making it more resilient to conflict minerals entering the supply chain. There are many low-cost, easy-to-use B2B solutions that could potentially be deployed at this end of the supply chain. Within the OECD framework, Stage 2 relates to how companies assess their supply chains for conflict minerals. This stage of the process requires all suppliers to be analyzed to determine the source of 3TG minerals. In most cases, it is easier for companies to engage with the industry bodies who are driving a standard way to monitor what is being processed through the network of smelters that exists around the world. From a supply chain management point of view, there are two key challenges associated with the successful reporting of conflict minerals. Firstly, to ensure that contact information for each supplier or trader across the supply chain is up to date. And secondly, keeping track of every assessment completed by a community of suppliers. Efficient contact management is therefore critical to the success of this particular reporting process, and hence ensure that an SEC filing is submitted on time. So what has been done so far by the industry bodies to assess the supply chains? Let's take a look at the example from the high-tech industry. EICC and GESI have jointly developed the conflict minerals reporting template shown on this slide. The format of the spreadsheet and the layout of information complies with SEC's due diligence requirements for downstream companies. The Microsoft Excel-based reporting template embraces the OECD framework and asks specific questions to ensure that conflict minerals are not used across the supply chain. According to the EICC, using a spreadsheet-based reporting tool is far better than a paper-based questionnaire that would need to be mailed out to participants across an entire supply chain. The sheer number of supply chain participants is complicated enough, but having to distribute the reporting tool to the correct contacts in every company across the downstream supply chain is a big challenge. What happens if the email contact information is out of date? How do you track which suppliers have not only received the assessment but have completed it as well? Given that conflict minerals reporting is now law for North American-based SEC filings, it is in a company's interest to find an efficient way to conduct the reporting process with minimal effort and without disrupting the day-to-day operation of the companies being asked to complete the survey. Even though the Dodd-Frank law applies to North America SEC filings, it won't be long before other countries adopt this type of assessment process. However, given that suppliers are based all over the world, would it not be easier and more importantly quicker to complete this assessment and exchange the information securely across the internet? Could some form of collaborative community management platform be used for this purpose instead? So how can companies address the community management and regulatory and legal compliance issues highlighted on the previous few slides? GXS Active Community is an enterprise-level community management platform that delivers people and process solutions across a supply chain. Active Community essentially helps to align people and process with transactional B2B. After all, for more and more businesses, improving the person-to-person interactions across the supply chain is becoming just as important as ensuring that companies can exchange business documents electronically. The platform uses a combination of centralized contact management and mass communication tools to allow a company to reach out to their trading partners anywhere across the supply chain. When using this platform, the EICC reporting tool could either be distributed as an email attachment or it could be replicated within the platform's built-in survey module. Therefore, any company that has to comply with the new conflict minerals reporting process will be able to ensure that all their supply chain contacts are not only up to date, but more importantly have full traceability over which suppliers have actually completed their submission. Any trading partner that fails to complete their assessment for any reason will automatically be sent a reminder email, thus allowing you to significantly improve response rates and ensure that an SEC filing is completed on time. Active Community is actually part of a much broader suite of community management tools from GXS, which together help to automate a data network and a people-related network. From a B2B point of view, GXS offers a suite of enablement tools to allow a company to exchange B2B documents with suppliers of any size, from web form solutions to Microsoft Excel-based solutions, through to desktop EDI and direct integration solutions. No matter what size of trading partner a company is working with, or their technical capability, GXS can help enable 100% of a trading partner community. As mentioned earlier, it's quite likely that in the lower parts of the high-tech supply chain, they will be using paper-based processes which can be easily forged or tampered with. By using EDI, information can be exchanged securely from one end of the supply chain to the other. In addition, GXS can help with the onboarding process by applying proven best practices and methodologies that include defining rollout strategies, education and testing connections, basically anything to do with ensuring that suppliers can connect electronically to their customers. Even when a trading partner community is onboarded, it doesn't stop there, as GXS also offers 24/7 multilingual support services to help ensure that any potential problems can be addressed immediately. Active Community helps to improve business partner interaction and provides opportunities for collaboration, and it achieves this by being at the heart of the supply chain infrastructure. From improving what contact information is managed and how it is managed, to monitoring relationships and relevant performances, through to ensuring legal compliance, Active Community improves the way in which businesses interact with their trading partners. From contract manufacturers, suppliers, third-party logistics providers, financial institutions, and of course customers, Active Community improves the day-to-day management of trading partner-related activities across the extended enterprise. Active Community contains a survey or assessment module that allows companies to define their own assessments and then push them out across the supply chain using Active Community's email and communication tools. The tool allows a company to keep track of completed assessments or responses and can automatically send out reminder emails to ensure that trading partners complete their assessments on time. It will be fairly straightforward to create a web form equivalent of the EICC spreadsheet, as can be seen by the example shown on this slide. The mass communication and traceability of responses should help any company keep track of whether any conflict minerals have been used across the supply chain. As the reporting process has to be conducted once a year, Active Community provides the ideal platform to ensure SEC compliance for this particular reporting process. So to conclude this session, today's global supply chains need to adhere to increasing levels of regulatory and legal compliance. Embracing assessment initiatives, such as the example shown in this presentation from EICC, requires a single and accurate view of all supplier-related contact information. Keeping track of completed compliance assessments, especially for a globally diverse supplier community, is a time-consuming process. The removal of conflict minerals from today's global supply chains should be on the agenda of every CEO around the world, and this should therefore become a key part of any corporate social responsibility initiative. This brings us to the end of this particular session. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. If you should have any questions regarding GXS or our Active Community Collaboration Platform, then please contact us via the details shown on this slide. Goodbye.